Hi, friends. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. And I'm really excited to do our angel card reading for today. And I've been working from the deck of the 22 Archangels Oracle from Kyle Gray. And I love this deck. And I'm going to be reading from a very wide variety of decks as we go on. I really love this community so much. And part of the joy of it is just getting to have, giving myself permission for my embarrassingly large abundance of angel cards, because I just think it's so delightful to be in this community and be able to see all of the different ways that we connect with the angels as a community. So I'm excited to share that with you all. So the card that we pulled for today was Zadkiel, and the card says karmic release. It's time to release what's holding you back and step into a more radiant self. And I will share a photo of this card so you can meditate on the actual card while you're listening to this as well. So what Zadkiel is really focusing on here in this reading is step into a more radiant self. What I love about the angels is they are very precise in their language. And when they say step into a more radiant self, they're literally having us slow down and focus on what is radiance? What is a radiant self? So radiance is where there is a natural light that's occurring and it's radiating out. And it's something that is just existing, and it's existing with such brilliance that it's naturally this light is coming off of it. And if you want to think also like a radiant heat floor, like the floor is just warm, and that sense of radiance is that you are the light, and so that it's your natural state and it's just radiating off of you and through you. And the phrase step into is really, the angels are constantly inviting us to really embrace the stepping into ourselves and stepping into that radiance. And what that means is really around karmic release specifically. It's taking ownership and understanding that there can be on the path of really embodying that inner light, of having to have a real appreciation and understanding for the spiritual ego. And a lot of times when we hear these things of like of karmic release and let go of what's holding you back, ways that the spiritual ego can show up is externalizing that and becoming very harsh with our path and becoming very much invested in what is outside of myself that is the obstacle to my enlightenment, and I need to get that out of the way and like get these people out of my way, get these people's energy out of my way, and it really starts to objectify others, and you'll really be able to feel into spiritual ego within yourself. That's always when you're really externalizing what's getting in your way of you stepping into a more radiant self. And there is a sense of when we're stepping into our power and we're releasing energy, there definitely can be a clearing that happens. What's so beautiful about working with angelic energy and specifically calling on Zadkiel when you're doing a lot of karmic release work, especially when you're in those spaces, when you're feeling like, gosh, I really feel like I can't be in my light because of the environment that I'm in, the people that I'm around, the place that I'm stuck in. I really am identified with wanting to get them out of the way, and so that I can get started on being my radiant self. And what we're getting the opportunity to see in the world is because we are in the digital age, and we're in this age where we're swimming in so much information. We're part of karmic release is understanding that we're getting to see in a much more rapid pace how and what and why human beings are making the decisions that they're making. In the past, karma was the idea of karma was very, very slow, because we were only working with, interacting with the people that were within our vicinity. And as we started to grow and being able to connect with the rest of the world, we started getting a lot more information and a lot more feedback about the decisions that people were making that were allowing certain outcomes to happen. And then we got to start to make choices around that according to our own lives. And part of why the spiritual ego comes up is what the spiritual ego is actually telling you. It's a nervous system response telling you, it's saying, I am actually getting more information than I can handle right now. And so I am putting up a boundary. I'm trying to set a boundary. And anytime you're in a space where there's something in you that's feeling defensive or offensive and wants to either protect or push away, that is the gift of the spiritual ego, telling you, like, I have taken in as much information as I can handle right now, because that is part of the task of this moment in history. Is how can we say, like, I am swimming in more information, and of this age where all of the information that human beings have ever gained is available to us now, kind of all at once. And that part of us that starts to want to disconnect from it and disconnect from others around it, and say, and of just like, stop bothering me, stop existing. You're in the way of me being able to be. When we get into that space around spiritual matters, when we're saying, like, this person, the situation is in the way, and we want to, like, get really mad about it and really, like, righteous about it, that's actually the time when we need to take a break. It's a time where it's actually a protective response coming in, and the beauty of the ego in its best embodiment is allowing things to have structure, and allowing things to, for anything to exist. The 100 yeses of something existing, there's a million no's that rejected it for it to be the particular form that it is. And part of us being able to really be in karmic release and being able to release what's holding us back. What's actually a lot of times holding us back is that we haven't given ourselves the time to definitively say, like, I am not able to take in any more information on this topic. And especially when it comes to spirituality and spiritual integration, well, the heart of the matter that Zadkiel really wants us to get today is when we feel that coming up within ourselves, instead of taking external action and becoming aggressive and like offended or defensive, or in this kind of very warrior like state. It's the time to be the step into a more radiant self. That's the time where this spiritual ego is coming up, and it's like your beautiful, like a beautiful guard coming up and saying, okay, you have reached the amount of information that your nervous system, your brain, your spiritual body is actually able to integrate right now. And you need to just not take any more in. You need to go meditate, go have fun with your friends, go to the movies, go for a swim, go for a run, go, do something you really love as a hobby. Go, just not think about it at all. And 10 out of 10 times, when you are in that space and you start to befriend the spiritual ego and see it as like an alarm system that's actually starting to say, like, you can't take any more light. I've reached my capacity for how much light my system is able to hold. And so I'm going to stop and I'm going to let it integrate. And I'm going to let it just settle for now. I'm like going to go to the art museum. I'm going to go on a date. I'm going to, go take a class in a completely different topic, and really coming then back to our spiritual education and our embodiment of the light, and really coming back to it when we're feeling really in going back to charity. We're feeling that generous heart. We're feeling open-hearted again. We're feeling relaxed again about the process of karmic release. And we're not feeling stressed out about it. And we're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to get this person immediately like out of my energy field, or because they're standing in the way of me reaching my enlightenment. And the funny thing about the spiritual ego is that's kind of technically true, but it's true in a way that's like disc is full kind of way. And we need to take a break. And a lot of the karmic release is also that it's time to release what's holding us back. And what can hold us back is that attachment to like the more enlightened I am, the more I will feel a sense of belonging and purpose in the world through maybe feeling like, I got, more figured out than the average Joe. And that the spiritual deception of that, of really resting in a space where the feeling of like, I think I'm a little bit better than everybody else right now, that feeling that comes in, that's this opportunity to really kind of release the karma of the way of relating to each other through the hierarchical relationships, and really stepping into circular relationships where our sense of like compassion for the way that the digital age gives us access to seeing how human beings are making decisions and what the outcomes are of those decisions, and really being able to look at it with neutrality. And that's a lot of what Zadkiel is also talking about in your more radiant self. because when you're the light, it's like in the radiant light. What's really powerful about radiant light is it's not a light that's going to burn somebody. It's when you think of radiant light, it feels beautiful. When you think of radiant heat, it's comforting. It energetically, when someone is in that radiant energy, it feels good to be around them. There's an embodiment of compassion, of wisdom, of really understanding and respect for where somebody is at in their path, and having profound respect for the human experience and for the school of life, where we're each making different decisions, and being able to bring that quality to somebody of that warm compassion, where you're a safe space for them to come with the results of the decisions that they've made, in a space where they know that part of what karmic release is, and stepping into a radiant self, is also being like this compassionate space where it will be like very compassionately and lovingly examined, like, okay, like let's talk about, with a lot of love and compassion and empathy and goodwill and kindness and joy and playfulness. Let's explore the results of those decisions that you made and the outcomes of that. And let's bring awareness, let's bring enlightenment, let's bring the light to those decisions. And that's really different than being kind of in patterns of a lot of the karmic releases are like, either like, oh, if we're getting involved like in somebody else's karma, the spiritual ego says, oh, I'm getting in, like, oh, I'm not going to get involved with that other person's karma, like that's their thing to deal with. And that again is the of saying, like, I think that this is what I'm being presented here is a little bit more advanced than I'm able to really process right now, in a way that doesn't get my nervous system feeling activated. So I'm just going to take a break from this and feel free to not have an answer right now around what this person is sharing with me, what this person's bringing to me. I'm really just going to surrender into, Lord, I give this to you. Jesus, my beloved archangels, I give this to you right now. It is beyond my capacity. And instead of going into the spiritual ego, which is actually, it's creating, when we go into playing that out of like superiority, othering, in a way that this person is like impeding my enlightenment, so I got to get them out of here. This person's quote negativity is messing with me, so I got to get them out of here. And really creating a very kind of fascist idea of spirituality and embodiment, and really, and that's creating more karma, because you're really still participating in this karmic wheel that's saying we're not all interconnected. It's really saying that we are going to get into that there's this battle going on, that becomes violent, emotionally violent, spiritually violent, relationship, not even like physically violent, just violent in its exchange, where the other person walks away from that exchange not knowing your radiant self. They're walking away knowing you as someone who engaged with them in a way that didn't feel wise and didn't feel compassionate and didn't feel embodied in your radiant self. And so it's a lot of karmic release is actually giving ourselves permission to say, like, wow, we're living in a really intense time where I have access to more information than I ever have, and more light than we ever have. And that part of that is also discerning how much information that we can take in and how much light we're able to alchemize and digest and allow to integrate into our systems. And when we're hitting our limit, to just say, I'm not the savior of the world. It's okay that I don't know what to do with this. God knows what to do with it. And it's okay that I have to take a break from this right now. And it's okay to be like really loving to this person right now and really kind to this person, and let God handle it. And really understand that there is no external people that are that we have to really, when it comes specifically, I'm talking about karmic release, and we're talking in this reading specifically about karma and the release of karma and the release of what's holding us back is actually what holds us back from really being in our radiant self, is feeling like the identifying with a persona of the spiritual person, like, I have to be embodying all of this wisdom and all of these teachings, and I have to be the embodiment of them right now, because if I'm not, then I'm not going to be a spiritually impressive person, and something bad is going to happen to me. And really having a lot of love and compassion for that feeling that comes up. And the release of karma is bringing love to that self and bringing kindness to that self, and saying, "Oh, sweetheart," like you would like a cranky toddler saying, and the cranky toddler's like, "I have had enough for the day. And really looking at the spiritual ego like the cranky baby, cranky toddler who's like, literally, I've just had enough of taking in information and living and learning, and I'm telling you, I've hit my break, and I've hit the point where put me to bed, go have something to eat, take a nap, go walk outside, and watch something really silly, go to a talk about a topic that has nothing to do with anything having to do with spirituality, or just like give yourself a break, and know that that's actually the karmic release, because you're able to step into when your relaxed self, when you're yourself that is feeling taken care of and you're not being pushed beyond your capacity. That's the radiant self. The radiant self that's just like, I just am. And I don't need to do anything. I don't need to be anything else than what I am. And so that choice to say, like, I can't take any more information, I'm getting really pissed off about, because I have a boundary that's coming up, and for us to just give ourselves permission to do that. And that's actually what releases the karma. And what's interesting about that too is we can be around people who are trained in a particular way to interact with us, and when we're talking specifically about karmic release and working with Zadkiel, is that it's really those decisions that we're having within those relationships that are that permission to say, I need a break. I need a break from this conversation. That's like 99% of karmic release work, is really enacting our right to take a break from a conversation, from an argument, from a interaction. And it can be a small break, it can be a long break, but that permission to say, I've reached my capacity. I'm no longer able to feel within me my radiant self. I'm only able to feel my protective self that just wants to be in a mode of fight in the stress response. I want to fight. I want to flee. I want to dissociate. I want to go into a stress response here. And the work of karmic release is actually pretty fun, because it's really where you're like, actually, I'm just going to take a break here. And it's really powerful too. Like if what Zadkiel really wants us to know too with karmic release work is, if we are in relationships where us saying I need to take a break causes something to happen that makes us feel really unsafe, or just unsure of like where we stand with somebody, when we just literally need to take a break from an interaction, from a conversation, even saying, hey, I just need to have a little bit of time to myself. And it can get very confronting when we are illuminated to the fact that we might be in a relationship where there's no space for that, and our not taking that space has actually been because we haven't felt safe to do that. And getting that information can, and especially when you're doing karmic release work, that is very important information, because that means that that person is going to be somebody that is going to be a very profound teacher in terms of your right to have breaks in heated, like karmic interactions that are manifesting in the realms of very stressful interactions that feel like they go round and round and round. And really going into the space where it's like, well, those changes need to be made then in those relationships. But you understand that it's about yourself. It's about really having the courage to really step into your radiant self, and having the courage to drop into that radiant self, and having the courage to really work within the passion to release the karma, and really have relationships with those that are interested in breaking something that is really stressful, and putting a pin in it, and letting both people take a moment and have some breathing room. And though the around karmic release is it's not like saying that person is in the way of my ability to manifest a bigger, more aligned life for myself, so that I can really be in service, and I can really be an example of the field of really gaining karma that is desirable in a peaceful world. And like that's the game that you're playing. And the more and more you go back to that and go back to that commitment to say like I really am committed to um, being in spaces where I am very committed to taking breaks when I need them, and I'm really committed to being in communities that really understand that that's actually a very conscious act of not continuing the negative karma and really having the space for something else to download and for something else to come into place, that is like taking that breath of the radiant self that's able to shine a new light, a new way of being, and creating the space to do that. So that's Zadkiel's message for today. And I am sending you so much love, so much angel blessings. Please feel free to visit my site. It's revharmonyangelina.com. And you're able to order on that site a personalized reading from me, and also purchase my book, Communing with the Archangels. And that is a workbook with lots of really practical activities for connecting more with the angels. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day.